Now that we have the part designed, we want to set up some parameters and create an iPart as instructed in part 6 of the assignment. And so the 4 parameters that I ask you to create is one for the length, and then the width, the flange length, and then the vent angle. So the flange length is this 15 millimeters, the length would be this 100 millimeters, the width would be the 60, and then the vent angle is this angle opening, which currently is set to 70 degrees. So we're going to make parameters of those, and then the next is we're going to have a range for each value, and then an increment size for each value. So instead of the previous iPart that we made where you only had small, medium, and large, now we have choices that you can set custom between specific ranges and increment sizes. So going to the parameter tab, go to manage and parameters, we're going to find the dimensions where we have the length and the width, and the right here would be the vent angle, or I'm sorry, the flange length, and then the 70 degrees would be the vent angle. So I need to find those and then name them. So D0, we will call this length, and then we're going to rename this as width. And then we're going to go down to the 15 millimeter right here, which is the flange length. And then finally, on the 70 degrees, we're going to change that to vent angle. Then we'll hit done. Then when I go create iPart, it should have those columns here for length, width, flange length, and vent angle. And so on the assignment, I wanted this set to a parameter column, or a custom parameter column, and the range is 60 to 120, and the increment is 20. So basically, we're just going to go here, right-click on the column, and left-click on custom parameter column. So now that it is now custom, right-click again. I'm going to go specify the range. Here, just click this little arrow here, and we'll make this 60 for minimum and 120 for maximum. And then finally, go to the column again, right-click, specify increment, and the increment would be 20. Then we're going to repeat this for the following columns. So for the width is between 50 and 70 with an increment of 10. To go on custom, 50 and 70 with an increment of 10. And then the flange length was 10 and 20 with an increment of 5. So custom, specify range, 10 and 20 with an increment of 5. And then finally the vent angle is 40 and 70 with an increment of 10. Okay. Now we can save this part. And so when you place this part in an assembly, you can then select those values and get different lengths. And so if we make a new assembly, standard millimeter assembly, and we place one of these in here. I have this under. It's going to ask what values we want, and then we can change those values to different values and get our own custom panel within the parameter, within the step sizes that we, or the increment sizes that we chose. So I'll just kind of make one here, hit OK, and it makes a panel of that size with those certain parameters. And so this gives you a much greater variety of making parts than just small, medium, and large. You can set your increment sizes to whatever you'd like, and then have quite a range within a single part.